This week's foreshadowing for next year. In other news, the past comes back to haunt you. It's not very online this week, so I'm just going to talk about old stuff. Remember this? No? It's from 2020. I know you can read what it says on the preview, but I'll just read it for you. What if people could sell stock in themselves? Instead of borrowing money and paying back a fixed amount, why not take an advance in exchange for a fixed percentage of your future income? The article, if you're just listening, is called You Can Securitize People Now. I'm pretty sure this is one of the games that the Buddha would not play. Sent from my glass house. I'm still not talking about the Telegram CEO. I'm convinced that even that story is a form of distraction, even though it probably isn't. It's probably not an engineered distraction. I find it not worth fixating upon. Oh, should CEOs be responsible for this stuff on their platform? And it's also moving us into like everything you post online is an NFT. Oh, can you even do anything in the world? Can you even be a CEO of a messaging platform? No, you can't. That's what the world has come to. So now let's move on and love everyone and tell the truth. I was thinking this week that if money is changing, and it is, and data is the new oil, then your personal data is money, obviously. Then the way you live your life is money. And that's how you get broad spectrum control. And that's how you alter the spiritual perception of reality. You get the human being to no longer understand it's a human being, as John Trudeau says. Try to say this fast 3 times, and you'll open a portal to another world. There's a Hamburglar joke in the Grimace meme coin, and I'm sure somebody has already said that, but again, I was not very online this week. And I didn't talk about this last week on purpose because when I recorded my video, I still couldn't figure out why I cared. So then I would just be reporting the news to you, which that's what you're here for. So maybe I should have done it. All I had to say about it was that it happened. But here are some thoughts. Hacking has always been pretending to be someone else in order to exploit what they have access to. And that's interesting now with the financialization of culture, that the hacking occurred in order to exploit cultural clout, like to wear another entity's cultural clout. There's a tweet I made a long time ago that I haven't pulled up here, but it was about the elemental nature of the 4 big tech companies, like Google being God, which now that landscape has changed a lot because of AI. There are many gods. It's like almost like going back to the old ways. More than one god. Apple was creativity, fire. Facebook was water, emotional connection. And Amazon was earth. That wasn't totally my idea. I listened to, I think it was like a 2017 podcast with Kara Swisher about how those big tech companies attach themselves to big archetypes like creativity and emotional connection, but I made the elemental association. Come back next week for a better hairdo and more tech news. This week, you're trying so hard to stay organized, but there's just way too much, so some turnips are going to fall off the truck. Monday is just leading up to the dark moon in Virgo with Mars squaring Neptune. The dark moon goes exact in the evening, so tie up loose ends and just be ready for whatever's next. Like maybe get some rest and set yourself up, meal prep, instead of doing any hard planning for the future. More on that in a minute. Pluto's back in Capricorn now, so it's officially time to reflect again on 2008 through 2022. 2008, financial crisis, the birth of blockchain, the birth of social impact investing. Anyway, reflect on that time to see what you have a final opportunity to get right. And if you know your chart, look at what house coincides with the sign of Capricorn, and look at where Pluto is in your natal chart. What house, what sign. This time, like now through mid-November, will be about that again. Don't know your chart, I have a free course on how to read your own chart at voyage.earth, which is kind of like saying the rural juror, so I linked it below. And I'm going to sunset the freeness or availability of that course soon. I know I keep saying that, I've been saying that for months, but I'm really going to do it. Anyway, back to the dark moon in Virgo. One of the figures for this deck in Agrippa is literally holding a bag. So there's one thing this could be about. The middle of Virgo reminds me of Mary Poppins. She's got the bag. It contains all possibilities and every item. She's wearing layers. She's self-reliant. She controls the process. She's always prepared. So what part of your life is Virgo? What house does it coincide with? How is that Mary Poppins? How are you summoning Mary Poppins? And with lunations, we can look at these 6-month mile markers for things. So in the Virgo part of your life, back on February 24th, there's a lot this week that connects back to late February. So we have a dark moon right now and like a full Saturn at the same time. Whereas back in late February, we had a full moon and a dark Saturn as God intended. So anyway, this is an interesting point we're at because we had the completion of the previous cycle last February in Virgo. And now that energy has been expended. We're getting quiet. We're resetting. Definitely do what you can to reset. But I don't know about like all that dark moon trying to manifest or deciding what you want to manifest, because the next full moon in Virgo is a lunar eclipse on the south node. I recommend approaching this time of like what you want in the Virgo part of your life with a sense of adventure and an awareness that the unexpected might be what you're going to get, whatever you think you want right now. Get in touch with your deep subconscious around the Virgo part of your life, because normally what happens during eclipse season are things that have been brewing in that realm where you can't see it and you don't even know what's going on, just come up all of a sudden and take what's theirs. And the full moon with the south, like a lunar eclipse on the south node, will have something to do with like subtraction or letting things fall away. And if you don't let them fall away, then you'll feel like they're like snatched from you in a really brutal way. So that lunar eclipse on the south, like with the south node in Virgo, is on March 14th, 2025. So have a sense of detachment with whatever you're laying groundwork for now in the Virgo part of your life. And just don't be attached to outcomes. And it's a great practice to never do that anyway, even though the Virgo part of your life probably really wants to do that. We have sort of an opposite day version of that lunar eclipse in Virgo in March of next year coming up in like about a week. It's a lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 17th. And that's the north node has not moved into Pisces yet, but the flavor of that full moon, that lunar eclipse, is going to point to where the energy is going to be going in such a way that the Virgo place in your life has no energy or resources. It's like all the attention, everything is like becoming real and congealing in the Pisces part of your life. And you'll get a little preview of that. And that's going to be why the Virgo part is going to feel lacking or needs to be like dumped out. Anyway, you might feel your Virgo reality becoming a little bit more tenuous in around the middle of January 2025, because that's when the nodal axis officially moves into Pisces and Virgo. Mars, we're still talking about Monday. Mars, which is right now, Mars is also squaring Neptune, and I think this accentuates everything I've been talking about. It's Mars in Gemini, so ruled by Mercury, squaring Neptune in Pisces. So Mercury is dealing with a lot. The ruler of that Virgo place in your life is also wrangling this Mars square Neptune, which is kind of like, what the heck is your problem? Being a little delusional when it comes to where your energy is pointed or where your anger is pointed. Last time Mars in Gemini squared Neptune in Pisces was March 14th, 2023. So that has a like weird secret connection with that lunar eclipse in Virgo. Next March, as the sun is shining on this place, the world is bound with hidden knots. So think about what was going on then and how far you've come. Mars also squared Neptune in Pisces from the opposite place, Sagittarius, this past December 28th, so you can start to piece together a story of what that might be about. Opportunities for growth. The moon also opposes Saturn early Tuesday morning, so I'm putting it in with Monday because all of Monday could have a slow heaviness or like a seriousness. I've been convinced, I've talked about this before, that the moon in Virgo opposing Saturn in Pisces might be productive or beneficial because they're both trying to do the same thing. The moon has this like watery, instinctual, emotional, sometimes imaginative quality, and it's in Virgo where it wants to be concrete and be organized, get things like in order materially. So that's an interesting, like an opposition, almost like a contradiction in terms. And then Saturn's the same, where Saturn makes things real, gives hard boundaries to things. And in Pisces, it's the opposite. Pisces, things are a little wishy-washy. Boundaries are not there. So what are both of these doing? They have a lot to talk about and they can help each other. I find Moon in Virgo opposing Saturn in Pisces constructive. And then this is also a little bit of foreshadowing because the sun is opposing Saturn this week too. So this week is very unified with everything that's going on. Tuesday still has a lot of the feeling of Monday, but more triumphant because the moon's squaring Jupiter. Tuesday could feel optimistic, but also a little all over the place. And you probably already feel pretty all over the place. And the moon, still invisible, still in Virgo, the activator of the zodiac, will be trining Uranus in Taurus, opposing Neptune in Pisces, squaring Mars in Gemini, and trining Pluto in Capricorn. So activating everything from Monday. Tuesday and early Wednesday are basically still Monday. The rest of Wednesday, oh my gosh. The rest of Wednesday is a different feeling from Monday and Tuesday. The moon moves into Libra and is applying to the south node all day, giving a bittersweet feeling to you trying to have nice things or whatever. I think of like stuff crumbling from moon with the south node. I think of like things crumbling and falling off. And Mars finally leaves Gemini and moves into the sign of Cancer on Wednesday afternoon. Moon Mars, whatever friction was presented Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, with the moon squaring Mars, like completing its square with Mars in Gemini, moon in Virgo, hasn't quite gone away. In fact, it's like shifted to other parts of life, or it's starting to rub off on other affairs, or get the moon square Mars situation is putting its stink on other things. So the moon squaring Mars carries, in a rough, not gentle way, I guess, kicking and screaming, carries Mars into Cancer, the sign governed by the moon. So go through your ephemeris and flag each time the moon is in axial alignment with Mars over the next 6 weeks. You can set your watch to things being aggro, sensitive, volatile during those times. But if you like and subscribe, the algorithm will serve you my videos and you'll get a heads up about exactly when those times are. Anyway, Wednesday. The moon also does conjoin Venus early Thursday, so things are probably okay Wednesday. Venus in Libra is helpful, even though she's with the South Node. Maybe even it's nice, and you could wake up on Thursday with rose-tinted glasses. You'll have the wind at your sails because the moon trines Jupiter all day long. Thursday is my favorite day of this week. If you're going to take a personal day, make it Thursday. And make it good because the rest of the week goes back to getting complicated. You could also use Thursday to batten down the hatches for Friday because we had the last of the 3 Mercury square Uranus aspects. The other 2 were backwards in time consecutively August 18th and July 21st. For more on that, and if you want to know what the hell just happened, you can watch my Mercury retrograde in Leo and Virgo video, which is a few downloads back, or on my Mercury retrograde playlist. The 3rd square of Mercury with Uranus, which is happening right now, should be pretty noticeable on Wednesday because the moon pings Mercury by sextile around the same time. Remember, the moon is activator, even though the moon doesn't have a ton of light. Luckily, the moon doesn't have a ton of light. When Mercury squared Uranus the first time during this retrograde phase, the moon had a ton of light. On Friday night, the moon in Libra squares Pluto and Capricorn. So do you think there might actually be a way to cut your shadow off so it stops following you around and you throw it in a trash can? I don't know, in a public park or something, because that's legal, and run away and never look back. And then you can finally outrun old, ancient problems that you thought you'd put behind you, but they just reappeared again. I'm asking for a friend. Pluto back in Capricorn. It's like whack-a-mole, but made of the Nazgul. Then the moon was into Scorpio. Saturday, the moon's in Scorpio, where it trines Mars in Cancer, so misery loves company. All day Friday, our sun applies to an opposition with Saturn. And remember last week when I was talking about imposing a system on things versus doing your due diligence to discover how to connect with the natural path, like how to work with nature's system instead of the one that's designed by you or whoever. Abraham Hicks said, let go of the oars. Everything you want is downstream. Saying this for myself. Nature is the perfect system. And this is also some interesting foreshadowing for next year. But let's look at the beginning of this cycle. This is kind of like a full Saturn in the way we have full moons. The sun conjoined Saturn at the end of this past February. So that's what I was talking about earlier in this video. Things this week connect to the end of February this year. So what were you up to then? You can watch the video I made that week. I'll link it below, or you can just try to find it. Probably that, because I'll probably forget to link. Anyway, Saturday is likely to be a day of sobriety. I think positive insight. There's always heaviness with Saturn, but the moon activator applies to a trine with Saturn all day. It's the moon in Scorpio, so it could be better and more constructive, but it's something. Sunday is still basically Saturday, so you get an extra day to process all the Saturday stuff. You might also have time to watch my managed wellness video, which is the video before this. It's about the Jupiter-Saturn square happening for approximately the next year. And Mercury moves back into Virgo late Sunday night. So I'll talk more about that next week. But get ready for July 25th through August 14th to come back to haunt you. But this time it's not the Nazgul, it's just Beetlejuice. Remember, your Wi-Fi is a camera that can see through walls.